back to TalkNorth.com. Thank you for listening. If you can, please download before you listen. It helps our business. I'd also like to thank our producer, Brandon Morton, and let you know if you'd like to sponsor this program or any of the programs on the network, you can reach me at jsouhan47@gmail.com. Welcome back to the Viking Update Show. I'm with Tim Yoder here out at the Vikings Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center, where they just had OTAs. We're going to be talking about what went on. The Kyle Rudolph drama, as of the moment we're recording this, is still ongoing. So we're going to talk about a different player, a different receiver, and see if there's any drama there. Stefon Diggs did not show up for OTAs. I'm going to ask Tim about that and whether there are any implications or ramifications with all that. I do want to thank our sponsors, Twill and the Dining Galleria, BiteSquad.com, and Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent in Champlin. Thanks also to our producer, Brandon Morton. Okay, Stefon Diggs was not here. What does that mean?
I think that means he got his big contract and feels like if he thinks that his training regimen that he has with his own trainers, things that he does on the side back home, are better for him than what the Vikings are putting together, that might be one of the possibilities. However, this year is a little bit unique because they have a new offense, a new offensive coordinator, whole new scheme, and if there was a year for him to skip, I don't think this is the year. Now, we don't know exactly why he is not around. Mike Zimmer said he wasn't concerned about it, but clearly every coach is going to want, especially their stars here to try to put things together with, a quarterback that's entering his second year and is probably more familiar with this scheme than anybody else. And now Diggs is coming in, whenever he does get here, I would assume he'll be here for a mandatory mini camp in about 3 weeks. But I just don't think this is a year for him to kind of skip out. If this were a second, third year in this offense, I could see it and I wouldn't have a big issue with it. This year, I think he should be here.
I don't want to be the old sports writer who complains about wide receivers, but I really don't get this. I don't get how a young, driven athlete who's always been known as a hard worker and a maximum effort guy just doesn't come out here and spend a couple days with his teammates and make sure he's on the same page with his quarterback and his other receivers and his offensive coordinator. I don't understand how, if you really care about winning and you really care about maximizing your performance, why you can't spend a few days here. I don't get that at all, whether it's Stefon Diggs or somebody who's more flamboyantly difficult like Odell Beckham.
Well, and last week, Mike Zimmer at his golf tournament was asked about, is it good for guys to get away and, just spend time off the football field? And his answer, I think, rings true with most of the players on this team, which is, look, okay, number one, they weren't in the playoffs. They've had now, 4.5 months off of football. That gives them, most of the players say, they'll take like 3 weeks, maybe a month away from doing a lot of intense, heavy lifting, conditioning, all that, give their their bodies time to heal. Those that have surgery obviously are in a different situation. With Diggs, he's had that time off. He's been working out. I've seen stuff that he's posted on social media. It's not like he's being lazy, but he's not really getting immersed in the scheme, and he's not getting the timing down with new routes, new concepts with Kirk Cousins. So I think that's important this year. And for whatever reason he is not here, if he has the time to put in the conditioning work and the agility and speed and all that he is doing, he should be able to do that here for, this is 4 weeks. If you want to skip the off-season conditioning program, which goes for about 3-4 weeks before OTAs start, I get that. If you have trust in your own trainers and you want to pay your own guy to do it, okay. I would say it's not ideal either, but it's better than skipping OTAs and practices when you're really trying to put it all together.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know. I don't want to make too much out of it because we don't know if it'll actually affect on-field performance. You just never know. It's a mysterious thing. Maybe he's fresher. Maybe he puts more in training camp. But I really don't get it. And, these guys have short careers. And I understand not wanting to be involved in contact if it were full contact or something like that. I understand wanting to lengthen your career. But I don't see how missing this lengthens his career. Let's be honest. It's because he's afraid Kirk Cousins is going to yell at him and try to teach him how to run routes on the sideline, isn't it?
Well, the interesting thing is that, when we were viewing practice on Wednesday, it was unbelievable how much Cousins went to Thielen. It's like he has developed this chemistry with Thielen, and that is, if he's ever in any sort of trouble, he knows he has to get rid of the ball. He's looking Thielen's way automatically, as well he should, especially without Diggs here. But that's also one of the risks that Diggs faces is that the chemistry between not just Cousins and Thielen, but Cousins and Rudolph, Cousins and a third receiver, whoever that may be, Cousins and Irv Smith, all of this develops better chemistry and better relationships off the field, and Diggs isn't here to experience that. So you don't know if it's going to affect how things go down once the regular season starts, but there's a chance that it could.
Yeah, I will say this time last year at training camp, I really thought that Cousins was almost going to Diggs to try to develop that kind of a relationship. And Diggs had a very good year, but it ended up not really being reflected by the way the season went. Cousins just threw to the open guy, and sometimes that was Thielen, sometimes it was Diggs. Later in the season, he probably didn't throw enough to his wide receivers. I just think you should give yourself every opportunity to be great. Short career. Every game matters. I don't get it. I will tell you what I do get shopping at Twill. How about that for a transition? I'm wearing a Twill shirt right now. I wear more and more, like all my stuff that I wear out in public is from Twill because it's just really comfortable. It wears well. It lasts a long time. Check out Twill in the Edina Galleria, twillmn.com.
Jim usually doesn't like to shop for clothes. I don't like it when he shops for clothes either because he used to buy stuff I'd want to throw out. That's why I'm so glad he's found Twill in the Edina Galleria. He likes shopping there because of the comfortable environment and the friendly staff. He finds clothes that actually fit him properly and are high-quality brands that will look great for years, whether he's golfing or working. Our favorites so far are Peter Millar, Johnny O, and Barber. We spend our money at Twill because we love the clothes and we love the no-pressure shopping. Drop by Twill in the Edina Galleria for the best shopping experience and best clothes you'll find in the Twin Cities.
So Diggs not being here, who looked good other than Thielen at the receiver position?
Well, Thielen was incredible. He had several really impressive catches. One of them pretty much ended practice. They were going through kind of a 2-minute drill, and he tried to get Xavier Rhodes turned around, and Rhodes was in great coverage here. I don't know how Thielen made this catch. He made a double move going down the field. Rhodes is shadowing him perfectly. And Thielen, I think, saw the ball a little bit late in the air and made this adjustment, and it looked like it was almost like he stuck out his hand and the ball was right there. It was a great catch. But besides Thielen, to me, one of the interesting takeaways from Wednesday's practice was you would think without Stefon Diggs here that Thielen's going to be the main guy, which he was, and that Laquan Treadwell would probably get a lot of run with the starting unit. He did not. Instead, when they were looking for more of a slot receiver, it was Chad Beebe, which I think everyone understands. When it was 3 receivers on the field, 11 personnel, it was Jordan Taylor, who's a guy that people probably haven't heard a lot about, but they might want to get to know that name. A little bit bigger of a receiver. And a guy that has experience in Gary Kubiak's offense. He was with him in Denver I think he was in Denver for 4 years and a couple of years under Kubiak's coaching. Not really standout stats or anything like that, and a signing that pretty much went, just by the wayside. Nobody thought anything of it. But I think the fact that Kubiak vouches for him and Mike Zimmer said as much today that had a lot to do with it. And Kirk Cousins said that Taylor is a guy, because he knows this offense, he knows exactly the route depth of where he's supposed to be, when he's supposed to come out of the route, maybe some reads that he's supposed to make based on how the defense is approaching them. And that can be a big deal. And all of those things, I think, are issues that held back Laquan Treadwell in years past. So that is something to watch out for. Now, people would say, well, why don't you just get rid of Treadwell? Really not that simple. It doesn't do them any good in the salary cap situation. So unless they're going to trade Treadwell, and I don't think there's going to be much of a trade market there, you might as well keep him on the team in case there are injuries. And as even if he's not the third receiver, even if he's the fifth receiver, he can still hold some value for them in case of injuries.
Right, I guess so. What's the offensive line looking like right now?
This is no pads practices, so that sort of thing is really hard to tell. But you see all the same things out of Garrett Bradbury that we saw out of him on film at North Carolina State. Very athletic. It's always this move that intrigues me, how he gets away with it. Like, if he's supposed to get around to the left side of the defensive lineman, and the way that they're aligned before the snap doesn't allow that, somehow he always gets around there. And you get all inside football talk and loose hips and things like that. He kind of has that. And so I'm really curious to see how he develops. For me, I have zero questions about his athleticism. It's just a matter of, once he gets up against big nose tackles, how is he able to handle them? And as a rookie, it's not only the mental part at center, but any rookie, especially on the offensive line, it's like strength is always a big issue there, because when they're in college and supposedly attending classes, it takes away from your time to develop your body. You're not quite 100% mature at their age. And so that's one thing to look for, but I was really impressed with his athleticism. And not surprisingly, Pat Elflein moved to left guard, and he doesn't seem to really have any qualms about it. He did bring up an interesting point. We all knew he had surgery last offseason. I don't think we all knew he had 2 surgeries last offseason. So, that's one of those things where it really set him back, because we all thought when he had the initial one, he should be ready for training camp.
Right.
And he wasn't. And I wonder if that's about the timing of that second surgery that nobody really knew about.
Yeah, it's a shame for the player that they don't make those things public, or at least kind of hint or tell you. Back in the old days when there were just a few beat writers and things were a lot more casual, sometimes a coach could say, hey, be easy on this guy, this is the deal, and you wouldn't report it until the offseason or something like that. Because Elflein did not look like himself last year, and not knowing he had a second surgery could affect the way you evaluate the guy.
Well, and he admitted that because of those surgeries, he never really had a chance to get into the weight room and improve his strength, or even build it back up to what it was.
It sounds like the Matt Khalil timeline.
Yeah. You hope it's not a recurring thing with him, and just because he had 2 in this offseason, I don't think it's necessarily an indication that he's injury prone, but it's something to watch for sure.
Absolutely. Thanks to Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent in Champlin, Hoaglund, insurance and financial services. He handles my insurance. He handles Michael Russo's insurance as well.
Hey, Minnesota sports fans. This is your local State Farm agent, Tony Hoaglund. I need you all to ask yourselves this question. If you're in an at-fault car accident and you are sued for $700,000, how much of that $700,000 will my current insurance company pay? If you are unsure or can't answer all $700,000, you need to give us a call. State Farm has been number 1 in car insurance since World War II and number 1 in homeowners insurance since 1964. For a no-obligation review of your current policies, call us at 763-421-4900 or check out our website at www.champlininsurance.com.
Okay, so we're recording this on Wednesday late afternoon. You never know when the Rudolph thing is going to be resolved, but let's kick it around anyway for the moment. What is going on with Rudolph and the Vikings right now?
Well, clearly they entertained some trade talks about him, and I think if they would have gotten a decent value in return, they would have considered it. But I agree with what Rudolph